Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special Rotoworld Football Show Q&A with your hosts of the Rotoworld Football Show, Patrick Daugherty and Denny Carter. It's draft weekend, and we want to help you out. We want to answer your questions, as long as they're not too hard, or as long as they're not like too easy to. They need to be just right.
We are looking for questions like, is CJ Stroud good?
Yes, no.
I'm ready to answer that.
Denny is ready to take on the tough issues. We're going to try to answer as many as we can. All kidding aside, no question is too small or too big. Probably biased in favor of like slightly more complex questions than either or. But we're going to try to get to everything we can. We're not going to be able to answer all your questions, though. Where we do answer all of your questions is in the Rotoworld Draft Guide. Myself, Denny Carter, Kyle Dvorak, Zach Kruger. Seriously, too many names to name. Made big time contributions, player write-ups on anyone you might conceivably be drafting, rankings for every format, just stuff. If you're joining late, like say you're a well-adjusted human being and you haven't been grinding this all summer and you don't even remember like what teams new players might be on.
We're not shaming anybody.
No, we're not shaming anybody. It's all in the Rotoworld Draft Guide, which is available through Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life Plus subscription. If you subscribe today, you get 20% off. There's these little things called promo codes. It's kind of industry thing, but there's promo codes RotoPat and 0RB. Use those. So you have the Rotoworld Draft Guide. We love bringing it to you every year. Part of the Fantasy Life Plus subscription this year. And Denny, here, wow, look. So someone doing us a favor. We got two betas in here. We got the alpha here. So alpha is here to help us kick off the chat.
That's good. It's good. It's good to balance.
It is good to balance. And let's get right to the big panic of the week. I've been panicking. My wife said, you got to stop calling me at work about this. Like, I don't know who this person is. I don't care about this at all. But Kyren Williams, I've been panicking all week. Sure, I was already panicking way before anyone else. So I have, quote, 0 shares of him in any league. Yeah. That is very true. I did not draft Kyren Williams
I have not drafted
this year either. A lot of people did, though, Denny. And thoughts on Kyren and what these like punt return duties mean. If anything, like if you were worried before, are you really worrying more now? What is your assessment on the Kyren 5-alarm fire?
A lot of people I respect, a lot of football knowers and observers, they saw this and they said, this is a nothing burger, which is a phrase I've always wanted to use. I'm glad I got to use it. Nothing. It doesn't mean anything. I have a hard time thinking that this doesn't mean anything because Sean McVay didn't just come out and say, Kyren Williams is our punt returner, period. He said he's our punt returner because we think he can be good at it. We want the ball in his hands, and we have 2 running backs who can do the early down work with Corum and whoever else.
Right. It was not framed as a way like Kyron's so good, we just got to get him out there and punts too. It's like we want to get Kyren the ball, and he might not be getting the ball as much as he might like.
Also, and I posted this on the X platform the other day, where the Athletic reported, just about like the sports science that teams use, and the Rams are very into it. Okay, apparently, and the Rams know exactly what kind of workload each player can handle.
Oh, give me a break.
Wait a second. I'm just saying, if any team knows or is going to be hyper specific about which running back touches the ball and how much, it's the Rams. So
you're saying if any team was going to fall for the pseudoscience, it would be the Rams.
Oh, wow.
That's what I would say.
Wow. Well, it's funny.
Hunting for any edge, like here's some guy who did a study.
You're a baseball fan, and baseball players are not allowed to even look at a baseball on their off days, right? And that works out. I mean, in the article it said football is light years behind baseball in using sports science, right? Yeah. And so they're finally using it, and you're saying, "Oh, it's pseudoscience now. It doesn't work."
But, we are concerned about Kyren, though. I mean, it's like how far is too far to fall? He's not a top 10 running back for me at this point. Here's the thing: I'm not going to pretend like I can get inside Sean McVay's head. He's become pretty accustomed to doing running back rug pulls. Like it's really, really difficult to divine Sean McVay's running back intentions, but Blake Corum was the 3rd running back off the board. Everyone says he's a Kyren clone. He's a touchdown scorer. Like you can debate if he's actually good. It's hard to believe any role won't include scoring some touchdowns, though. And Kyren himself a few weeks ago was like, "I'm on board with getting the ball less." That was a humongous. That was a bigger red flag to me than the.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Kyren, we're concerned, but he could still be a screaming value on the RB1-2 borderline. He was the RB2 overall last year. So,
I still think taking him at the beginning of the second round is too rich.
It is.
I think you need to wait.
You'll lose. Your draft's over. No, we do that. Joey Rats, by the way, wondering if we can see the questions this time. Joey, we got news for you.
Joey Rats.
We can see the questions this time. So we're going to actually be answering your questions.
Denny, just a question real quick.
Is it the Taysom one from Alpha?
No.
All right. What is it? What do you want to answer?
I'm not that sick. It was from Shaq. It was from Super Shaq.
Super Shaq. Many people are saying.
Many people are saying I should be coping and crying on a level never before seen because Justin Herbert is my QB2 Superflex.
That's true.
Honestly, I've been actually trying to keep it together for about 3 minutes now after reading that. So thank you. That's really well done.
Should Shaq dry his tears?
I think so. And here's why. And Pat's going to cut my mic. He's going to end the stream.
That's right.
But I'm going to go for it.
The fans will rejoice when that happens.
I think that Justin Herbert is going to have a little bit of rushing juice.
Well, Denny, I'll be honest. I thought that too until he ran. It was Justin Herbert runs once and then injures foot immediately in training camp. Well, I was on board with this. I really was. And there's no way that's not going to weigh on them powerfully. Like, dude, we let this guy run one time and he instantly got hurt. And maybe it was total fluke, but the fact remains he ran and he instantly got hurt.
I know. And that definitely, look, if he hadn't gotten hurt, if he had been healthy this whole offseason, I would be screaming from the rooftops like Herbert's going to rush 8 times a game, like on design stuff. So I'm a little more skeptical of that outcome, but I think the way to save him is not through passing as far as fantasy goes, because his receivers are terrible, including 2 small Ladd McConkey. But I think it could be rushing. We have to see.
I don't think Ladd's actually that small, by the way.
Well, and that's small. I mean, not by the numbers, but he looks small to me.
He very much looks small. By the way, quick one in here. Alpha got in here first. And how much of a Taysom sicko are you, basically? Are you taking the Conk Daddy or Taysom Hill? I'm taking Tyler Conklin 10 times out of 10 over Taysom Hill, but I'm assuming that is not the case for you.
It's not. Not at all.
And the mic is cut. When the mic is cut.
I mean, so my question for you is the Conk father going to get direct snaps at the 1 yard line?
Sure. Yeah. They said that.
Okay. Well, I hadn't heard that. So
Aaron Rodgers said that. He did a live stream on X. A bunch of people and said
is
that.
Taysom Hill? I'm sorry. Is Tyler Conklin the RB2 for his team?
No.
Okay.
Not. They asked Aaron that, and he said no.
That's who are you taking?
All right. By the way, I said in my rankings, write your local congressperson about these deceptive business practices.
Yeah, well, it is deceptive, and it is wholly, a scheme. And Pat hates a scheme, he hates a scam, but I love a scam.
Denny loves scams. No one loves Chris Olave. No one wants to draft him. I'm having a hard time ranking him and drafting him. I did end up with Chris Olave in the top 10, my final rankings, though, because he's so clearly the wide receiver 1. He has been a target commander. He hasn't done as much as we would like with the targets he's commanded. They finally got a Shanny Bro in there, Clint Kubiak. But people, no one wants to take him. People are taking Drake London for him frequently. I've done that too. Where are we at with Chris Olave? A player, honestly, like a lot of times, I don't even know if we would answer a question about him. Like, what do we even say about Chris Olave? Like, this guy wants to talk about Chris Olave. I don't know. Well, what do we say about Chris Olave?
Yeah, Olave feels like a settled matter, just like DK Metcalf, right? Like, all right, we already know what he is. There's nothing to talk about. Well, you and I think there's a lot to talk about with DK Metcalf. We haven't talked enough about Olave, I don't think, because this offense is going to change. Like, they finally hired a guy who met Shanahan once, and that I think that can work for this offense. Look, Olave ran ice cold on downfield opportunities last year, okay, because Derek Carr just could not hit him. And despite that, he was top 16 in yards per route run among receivers. Wow. That's strong. I know if, but if a couple of those long ones hit, he's in the top 10. I think we're talking about him completely different. Yeah. I do hear that. And it's a valid point about your uncle. But I I do think I'm probably undervaluing Olave, and I wouldn't be surprised if I live to regret that.
No, and by the way, I misread the poor man's question. It was actually Olave's skepticism, but no, we answered it correctly though. We laid out why people are bullish on Olave still, like why we haven't given up on Olave. Essentially, would you take Drake London? I'm to the point. I hate it. I am taking Olave ahead of Drake London.
It's close, but I will lean London. We talked a lot about London on the Thursday Rotoworld football show. Folks want to check that out.
Well, we did. Denny, we'll keep this one brief. Romeo Doubs or Khalil Shakir week 1, which is honestly just a Romeo Doubs or Khalil Shakir in general question.
It is, right. The week 1 stuff is hard. It's the hardest week to answer start sits, obviously for many reasons. I would say if Curtis Samuel is out, then it's Shakir. If not, then Dobbs.
I mean, come on, don't dodge. Who do you want on your roster all year? Romeo Doubs or Khalil Shakir?
Shakir.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Although Shakir is just like, to quote Pat Carrane, who I'm sure was quoting someone else when he said this, what do you win when you win? Because, like, yeah, guess what? Khalil Shakir is running the most routes and playing the most snaps, and they never throw to him ever. And so I just kind of wonder if there's even any point to Khalil Shakir. Romeo Doubs is at least a touchdown scorer.
He is, and apparently Jordan Love has targeted Dobbs relentlessly in the end zone during training camp, as he did last year when Dobbs was like top 3 inside the 10 targets. Yeah, so now I'm thinking strongly about Dobbs.
The Packers receiver core is breaking brains, mine very much included. It's every year there's a few position groups where like the frank, brutal analysis is like, listen, man, we got to see some games. Like I cannot tell you. Like I do not know. The Packers receivers have been like that to me. Like, dude, I wish I had a better answer for you. But I was joking with Sam Sherman the other day, and Sam Sherman said, surely it's a good thing that all my Jaden Reed takes are based on family night snap counts from a month ago. So this is kind of where we're at with this.
That's
Packers
funny.
receiver core.
Family night. We love our family night.
We do love our family. We love our families. Uncle Teddy Ball Game, the Splendid Splinter wants to know Jahmyr Gibbs in round 1, King Henry in round 2, or Josh Jacobs, he of the safe floor and touches in round 3. Denny, you can only pick one.
Oh, well, Henry.
Wow. Really?
Why not?
I don't know.
I'm not taking Jacobs in round 3. Kidding me?
You're not coming around on the Jacobs train. The guy doesn't have a backup. Like, he just doesn't have a backup.
He does.
Like,
Emmanuel Wilson, and he's my RB1 on every team.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I do have Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson is good, and Marshawn Lloyd is hurt, and A.J. Dillon is done for the year. Like that, something. And Jacobs is possibly washed. He was one of the worst running backs in the NFL last year.
He was washed on a bad team in a bad contract situation last year. That's what I'll say. I think the horrific inefficiency is going to improve and what is generally a pretty efficient Matt LaFleur offense. But he looked washed last year. There's no way to polish that up. By the way, Uncle Ted, says, oh no, wrong Uncle Ted. He says Roschon Johnson's going to outscore Bijan Robinson. Teddy, we unfroze Ted Williams, who was of course famously frozen upon his death in the year 2002, and he thinks Roschon Johnson will outscore Bijan Robinson.
Maybe, if that comes true, we'll clip this. We'll ask the editors to clip this one.
We will also hire unfrozen Ted Williams. Denny, Samaje Perine. Okay, how excited can we get about Samaje Perine as the Chiefs' third down back? Is kind of what the heart of this question is. Is it a thing or is it not a thing?
It is probably not a thing. I have to imagine. I mean, the Chiefs spent all offseason saying like Isaiah Pacheco can handle 3 downs, and now they're gonna take a flyer on Samaje Perine on his 9th team and make him the pass catching back. I don't know. I tend to, if I'm going to take a late round Kansas City running back, I'm taking Carson Steele.
Well, my take on this is Isaiah Pacheco never actually had that work, and it was just an illusion. And the Chiefs have been casting about for a solution. And because first, guess what, guys? CH is back. And then no one talked about CH, and they're like, guess what, guys? Generic Prince is back. And then he was terrible. And guess what, guys? We got a fullback. Bet you didn't think we had a fullback. And And we claim Samaje Perine. Like, we can finally stop pretending we liked these other guys.
No, that's interesting. I buy that. Yeah.
And I am worried with Isaiah Pacheco. I dropped him still as an RB1, but I think it's the RB12. And he didn't consolidate the way he could have with Jerick McKinnon last year. He did a lot of consolidation, I will say, of the touches and the third down work. But it just seems like the Chiefs are not fully satisfied there. And I mean, we know it's because of Sean Payton. I believe it's you pointing out. Samaje Perine led all running backs in yards per route run last year. I find it hard to believe he will not be involved in this Chiefs offense.
Yeah, gosh, you're right. I mean, I think that he was a product of the Sean Payton offense, which is so friendly to running backs catching passes out of the backfield. I mean, but we've seen Jerick McKinnon make life a living hell for CEH or whoever was the lead back at the time.
That's because CH wasn't good. But here, 2 questions, Denny. Is CJ Stroud good? Someone was listening. And picking 6th, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you listened to our podcast yesterday, I think I know who you're going to say. But first, is CJ Stroud good? Then who are you taking?
Yeah, I have about a 10-minute answer here. Listen, when you look at the history of he's good. Yeah, he's legendary. He's franchise altering forever and ever. And by the way, the quarterbacks who went around him, Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, have a clear path to being complete busts. So good job by the Texans for taking the right guy. Great. Picking 6, I'm easily taking Justin Jefferson here. And we talked about it on the pod.
Me too. And it's just Justin Jefferson. If you're looking for reasons to draft someone, one question you could ask yourself is, are they the best skill player in the NFL? That's what I've been doing with Justin Jefferson this year. It is scary. I'm not a Darnold believer. I don't think this is like an easy button thing. Like Kevin O'Connell made Nick Mullins relevant. Like, I think there's legit concern. Jordan Addison, that was kind of inefficient. We don't know when TJ Hawkinson is coming back. I'm just not overthinking it. I'm hitting draft and I'm going to wish, I'm sure, that I had overthought it. But I'm not overthinking it. And I'm taking Justin Jefferson as well in that same situation. Denny, by the way, Kyren Williams, are we telling this guy this is a big mistake, or because there are still positive outcomes here? Kyren is a classic situation where it's really, really easy to only focus on the negative outcomes. Are there still like easily attainable positive outcomes, or is this situation just too messed up? What do you think as a Kyren follow-up?
I think if Corum is really bad, which he was truly by the metrics one of the worst running backs in the nation last year, and he's coming off a horrific leg injury, of course, and so that could have been the reason, because he was really good the year before the injury. Anyway, if he doesn't get back to his prior form, I think that they could just say, okay, well, forget sports science. We're just giving the ball to Kyren 100 times a game. But I do think if Corum proves to be reliable, early down banger, maybe a short yardage guy, and, God forbid for Kyren, a touchdown maker, that's going to be tough. It's just going to be tough for Kyren to prove a value. I will say there's an interesting thought about early round draft picks that I just kind of came around to recently, reading some analysis. I can't remember where. I'm sorry. I'm trying to cite it, but it's basically that it's better for your first or second round pick to be a complete bust than it is for them to be just mid and like having like the horrible stomach churning problem of having to decide whether to play him every week. So it'd be better if Corum just asserts himself and Kyren is a bust, and then you can say, well, I swung and missed. I got to move on.
So my final thought on Corum and Kyren, by the way, is I think Sean McVay has grown leery of every down backs, and Todd Gurley got ground into dust. Kyren just gets hurt constantly. He's clearly not a fan of Kyren's durability.
No.
And I just don't see a happy ending here. And he's the number 2 running back again. But real quick, he got offered Calvin Ridley for Ricky Pearsall in Dynasty. Do I smash accept after that Ayuk deal? I would say yes. Even though Calvin Ridley's pushing 30. What do you say, Denny?
Yeah, I'd say yes.
Another Dynasty one that I wanted to answer real quick. Where was it? Who would you rather have in Dynasty? Rashee Rice or Brandon Ayuk? I have both these guys in our Dynasty League that you unceremoniously quit, Denny. Who would you rather have?
Well, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Ayuk is freakish. I'm taking Ayuk.
He's free. I don't know, man. I still think it's
you think he's a product of Shanahan?
Of course he is. I mean, what do you mean? Of course he is.
No, the running back is a product of Shanahan.
Yeah, I mean, they're all products of Shanahan. What do you mean?
Yeah,
All right.
you might be right.
Here's the question that's really Denny's speed. Jaleel McLaughlin, Rico Dowdle, Dusty Dalvin, or Jalen Wright? Which RB does Denny Carter, the RB sicko to end all RB sickos, promo code 0RB for the Rotoworld Draft Guide and the Fantasy Life Plus subscription? Who do you want, Denny?
Dusty Dalvin. That's what they're calling him.
You're saying
Jaleel McLaughlin. So Rowdle.
Route. I didn't even notice Rowdle, but yeah.
Okay, so Mike McCarthy came out yesterday and was like, yeah, Dowdle's a 3-down back. He's our 3-down option. He's not going to do special teams because he's our 3-down back. And at which point I immediately fell to my knees and vomited all over my kitchen. Yeah,
that was a sight to see for the family.
We actually have it on video. We're going to post it later.
I will be clicking. I won't lie.
So I mean, if that's the case, then good. Yeah, it's Dowdle, and congratulations to Pat Kerrane for winning another few $1 million with Rico Dowdle bags. So I guess so McLaughlin's never going to be a 3-down back ever.
He's never going to be a 3-down back, but is he Pierre Thomas? He doesn't. Right. Does he not need to be a 3-down back?
So he could be just a pass catching phenom, just a complete cheat code, a scheme to end all schemes. So I would lean toward McLaughlin, but Dowdle's right there. Jalen Wright's the RB5 on his own team. It's not happening.
No, yeah, it's sadly not happening. Denny, in a salary cap draft, auction draft, do you prefer paying up for one of the big dogs at running back or trying to get a value on Josh Jacobs? My experience with this is always that there are you always end up overpaying like the second tier guys, and the values don't really come to the third or fourth tier.
Yeah.
In general, I prefer to pay up this big time.
I mean, if you're going to do it, you do it.
I prefer in an auction. I prefer to do something I can't do in a snake, and that is get like 2 or 3 elite players, and then worry about the rest as like the draft unfolds and like value starts to emerge. And in general, I try to get big dogs in the salary caps is what I'll say.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not, I wouldn't pay up for any of those guys, especially not Jacobs. But I think guys in salary cap who I think are going at reasonable prices, like David Montgomery, maybe a little Devin Singletary, get crazy, get a little Singletary, get nuts, get Javonte Williams. These guys are going for cheap, and they could be, I think, major values.
Here we go. Alpha, by the way, I've been wondering the same thing. Like, I feel like we just stopped getting new reports on the Bengals backfield, and I don't really know what to do with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Did you have any updated opinions since Ben Baby was on our podcast a few weeks ago?
Not really, but this idea that I've seen kind of bandied about on the X platform that because Zach Moss didn't play in the preseason, he's the starter. That's not correct because Zach Moss has been hurt. So they didn't hold out the starter. He couldn't play.
I think the Bengals running back situation is kind of like the Packers receivers. Like I wish I had something better to tell people, but like, I'll be watching in week 1. Then I'll let you know then.
Yeah. Right. Do your draft and then get back to me on Monday after week 1.
I'll tell you on September 10th. I told you all along that was a bad pick. Like I wouldn't have taken him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I would not take. But yeah, it's just a real. I've been seriously, sir. I've done like several like Google and like Twitter searches. Has
Me too.
anyone said anything about these guys? No one is saying absolutely anything. Turbo Duran is saying very pro Josh Jacobs. I do think Josh Jacobs is both in decline, Denny, and will be better than he was last year.
Yeah.
He's in a much, much better situation here. Turbo Duran, very, very upset with Denny Carter, to be frank. I am too. Who is the worst QB1 you are willing to accept on your team in a 1-quarterback league, Denny? What's the line? Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Geno Smith. Is it Geno?
It's Geno.
Yeah, it is for me too. And I don't know how I've gotten on this wave with you, but
it was I talked your ear off about it. That's how.
Give the 20-second version of why we're excited about the Seahawks offense.
Okay, real quick. Seahawks dead last in offensive plays last year because they could not convert a single third down. That will not be the case this year. Much more 3 wide receivers, a faster paced offense, way more dropbacks. And I think Geno Smith is actually unlike Pat. I think Geno Smith can be actually good.
I don't think he's good, to be clear.
No, you think he's bad.
He is bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
one reason they ran the fewest
he's
plays
elite.
is because he can't convert any third downs.
I think he's gonna make you rue the day that you doubted Geno Smith. No one has ever been wrong. No one has ever been right after doubting Geno Smith. It's not true. So anyway, yeah. So Geno, yeah, he's gonna cook. He's gonna cook whether you like it or not.
Except for those 10 years where we were right to doubt Geno Smith. No one has ever been right about Geno. Need help. Ivan needs help with his keeper. CeeDee Lamb in the 3rd round. Jonathan Taylor in the 7th. Even in a standard scoring league, I'm smashing CD there. Do you agree, Denny?
Keeper, standard scoring. Yeah, CD.
I mean, Taylor is a good value there too. But even in a standard scoring league, you got a guy who's one of the top 3 picks, basically, versus a guy who's one of the top like 8 or 9 picks. It's actually not. It's pretty close, to be honest.
Speaking of keepers, a friend of mine told me he was able to keep Achane for a 13th round pick this year. That's
be great until he gets hurt. We'll all mourn together then.
God, that's rude.
CD, I have way fewer questions with CD. Jonathan Taylor could finally be all the way back this year. But it's like a classic, like, why am I having to make, like, here's why Jonathan Taylor will be back. Like, when you have to make an argument why someone will be back, it means they were gone.
Right.
And he has been gone for 2 years. So, yeah, we'll see. True or false, every Packers receiver will have exactly 48 to 52 catches, Denny.
Yeah, that's false. Some of them will have less.
What's your gut on who pulls all the way ahead? Just like gut feel. Mine is Christian Watson. He's the only Packers receiver I'm actually drafting. I don't think he'll lead in catches, but he's the only Packers receiver I'm actually drafting.
I think Christian Watson would be it. Yeah, that would be my guess. Rich Rebar talked about this stat the other day where Watson like missed a huge amount of time. I forget how much it was last year, but he still had like 40% of the air yards. In the offense.
He's a dominator. He's a target commander. He's an air yard.
Yeah.
He devours air yards. Nick Beaver has asked this question twice. So people are down horrific. I haven't seen. I have suspicions the poor Dalvin might cause problems for poor Zeke, but that's all we have so far. And that I still think Zeke is ahead of Dalvin.
I'm sorry, Pat. I actually am getting a somewhat emergency phone call, so I will be right back.
All right, Denny's heading out for a minute. I'm going to keep answering questions. Hope everything's all right with Denny. But yeah, Zeke is just like, I don't know. It's bad for Zeke. So obviously it's bad for Zeke that they added Dalvin Cook. But where am I going? Sorry, I'm a little caught off guard by Denny having to drop out. It's bad that it was like they went through an entire training camp with Zeke and still added another dusty guy. So it's not even just that they added Dalvin, that they added another dusty. It's that they gave Zeke like such a long runway to show them something, to prove something. And then he didn't. And they had to add another veteran. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the clear answer is to steer clear there. But Dalvin's still not even officially on the roster. I bet he will be soon. Milan has 2 questions. Half PPR league. Who would I take in the 5th round? Steph Diggs, Cal Ridley, or Amari Cooper? Who would I take in the 6th round? Najee Harris, David Montgomery, or Raheem Mostert? The 6th, I'm still going David Montgomery. I'm more confident in David Montgomery's touchdowns repeating than I was Raheem Mostert's touchdowns. You know, Najee, there's kind of like a strong air of like this time it counts. He's got Arthur Smith, who absolutely loves the big backs. Jaylen Warren hurt very, very like dead silent training camp. We got like no Jaylen Warren hype. But again, mostly because he wasn't practicing, but that hamstring injury. But of the running backs there, I'm taking David Montgomery. Dude, these receivers, it like seriously just like depends on the day. I think right now I have them so jumbled together in my rankings too. Amari Cooper he's still clearly the number 1 guy on the Browns. I think the Browns offense is finally going to be a little better this year, although I just don't even know with Deshaun Watson and his health. Calvin Ridley is clearly the number 1 too, but a little less clear. There's DeAndre Hopkins I think he's already back. So he's not like as far ahead of his competition as Amari Cooper is. Steph Diggs, one of those guys too. I mean, I'm just like, I wish I had more information on this guy. Is he the number 1? Is he the number 2? Is he the shock number 3? So I think I'm leaning Amari, Calvin, Steph Diggs. But the guys who are like so jumbled up in my rankings, like sometimes I can't even remember how I have them ranked. So ask a more specific question. How we think about Mostert this year? Good value? Is it at his ADP or is it the Achane takeover? Mostert, I've gone like back and forth on a bunch of times this summer. I was like, it's the full Achane takeover. And then I'm like, well, Raheem Mostert did lead the league in touchdowns last year. And with Raheem Mostert, what I have trouble with is, so Raheem is a guy who was always known as being injury prone, one of those injury prone guys in the entire league. But he stayed healthy now, back-to-back years fully. He's figured out how to stay on the field. But in the process, he really declined down the stretch each of the past 2 years. 2 years ago, he just handled way smaller workloads down the stretch. It seemed like he couldn't hold up under the workloads they were giving him. So they dialed off, gave him smaller workloads. Last year, they didn't dial off the workloads, but the efficiency, both like the boomer yards per carry efficiency and the more advanced stats, like yards after contact, he got really inefficient down the stretch, but he maintained the work and he kept scoring. I just like the Lions. I don't see the incentive really for the Dolphins to ditch their 2 running back approach, but unlike the Lions, I do think the mix will be a little different this year. That Mostert is not going to be just getting every goal line carry, that he's not like a safe, like 15 carry bet. And I just think he's going to be like kind of like the 80% version of the Mostert he was last year. I did get him in my top 24. I didn't really have him in my top 24 almost the entire summer. By the end of the summer, this was like the information we have as we got more certain on certain people. I did get Raheem Mostert all the way back in my top 24. My in on Brian Thomas Jr. is a possible weekly wide receiver 3 play with upside. Emphasis on the possible for wide receiver 3. I'm starting out, honestly, more like in the wide receiver 5 range. I have him on like that 4 or 5 borderline. But one truism is fade real-life first-round receivers at your own peril. Every year, 1 or 2 of like the biggest exposed overachievers in fantasy are the first-round wide receivers who just didn't get steamed that summer. And Brian Thomas did get steamed, but not to the point, like no one's under the assumption he's the Jags' number 1 receiver. He might be. Maybe he's finally the guy who's going to unlock Trevor Lawrence down the field. And a guy that anytime he's put in position, usually in practice, but anytime he's put in position to like make a play, he made a lot of big plays. He really, really impressed the Jags press corps. Seems like he has easy separation down the field. And I have been drafting Brian Thomas. Not a ton. Like he's not someone like every draft I got to get Brian Thomas because I really like A.D. Mitchell too. But A.D. Mitchell and Brian Thomas, I think same argument. Guys who are going as wide receiver 4 or 5. They could frankly end up wide receiver, maybe like a fluke wide receiver 2 even. So Digo, that's my very, very long way of saying I do agree with you. Let's see here. Scrolling down. Half PPR thoughts on JSN as a wide receiver 3 flex option. Feel good or rather have him on the bench early season. Ideally, JSN would be your 4th wide receiver on the bench, or I guess like maybe saying your 5th if you are putting him in the 4th receiver spot in your flex. But JSN is another guy all summer that's been slowly moving up my ranks because there was the drumbeat on him. There's the drumbeat on the Seahawks offense in general. It just seemed like there were never any wrenches thrown in the narratives there. Like people stayed really happy with JSN. The coaches, the Seahawks media remained impressed. Everyone is just saying the same things about the Seahawks offense, that it is going to be like the Ryan Grubb attack, more up-tempo, more pass-heavy, more pass-friendly, hopefully better sequenced than the final days of the Pete Carroll era. And it's annoying when it doesn't happen with these guys as rookies. Jason just basically didn't seem like he was ready as a rookie. They're saying that like now that he knows what it takes to be an NFL player, and he's doing those things. He should have known as a rookie probably. He should have figured it out, but he didn't. Now he does. And I got Jason by the end of the summer in the top 40. Some people say, oh, wow, yeah, don't overdo it. Top 40. But yeah, I got him into the top 40. I love JSN as a wide receiver 4 flyer. And it could go, maybe he's just not good. He wasn't good last year. And maybe like a good summer doesn't mean anything. But for JSN did the things he needed to do to get people to go back in on him. So that's my JSN spiel. I like JSN as a wide receiver 4 or 5. Any drafting tips in an 8-team 2-flex league? No, not really. I don't besmirch anyone's formats. I've never done that kind of league, and I without even like trying to be flip, I would say, let's keep taking the good players, because the good players aren't going to really run out. I guess maybe my only advice would be, don't even worry about trying to find sleepers. Just hammer the proven established guys. The sleepers will be there for you on the wire to add whenever you need to. And just like the ultimate, no need to get cute in an 8-team draft. Elisha asking, 10-team full PPR, picking third. Would I rather start Brees, London, Tyreek? Would I rather start Brees and Drake London or Tyreek, Henry, Pacheco? Oh boy. Brees and Drake. I think Christian McCaffrey, tier break. Brees Hall, tier break. I think Brees is all alone in that second tier by himself, and that he's not with Bijan. Tyreek Hill is a special player. He's been a special player his entire career, somehow taking it to new heights his first 2 years in Miami. But I just think Tyreek, I think that was his absolute peak last year. I don't really see how Tyreek outdoes that or even equals it. And that maybe he's just like a bit overstretched as like a number 1 or 2 overall pick. And that you want somewhat like more of like a PPR machine if you're really going to take a receiver that early, someone like CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson, that they're catching 110 balls no matter what. I like both starts, but I think I like Brees and Drake just a little better than betting on another historic Tyreek season. And then, aging Derrick Henry, who I do like, and Isaiah Pacheco, which, as we outlined earlier, now has some Pirine problems. Got one guy to fend off the bank examiner after round 5. Who is that guy? I'm going to look through my rankings here. Who's my favorite round 5 pick? Who do I keep taking after the 5th round? I don't know. Rasheed Rice. I'm loving the Jameson Williams upside after the 5th round. Sorry, I shouldn't even answer this question. These questions are too hard to answer on the spot. Xavier Worthy, I keep taking after round 5. I mean, talk about high variance, boom or bust, but the potential boom is just so much for Xavier Worthy. So those are some guys off the top of my head I keep taking after the 5th round, and believe me, I'm taking them. I need all of them to be extremely good. If anyone's still looking for a 2 QB league, hit up Grail. It's 2 QB league that needs some ballers. I love 2 QB leagues. The problem is 2 QB leagues, the ideal size is 10. 12, honestly, you should just make it a super flex if you're doing two QB leagues. But pure 2 QB of 10 teams, some people scoff at 10 teams. But I really like 2 QB 10-team league teams. It's best balance if you're going true 2 QB. If you go more than that, I'd say just go super flex. Excuse me, I clear my. By the way, the Rotoworld draft guide, folks. Promo code ROTOPAT. Stop steaming Denny with 0RB. We're all in it. All of our thoughts, all of our ranks, all of our write-ups. The Rotoworld draft guide available with the Fantasy Life Plus subscription. 20% off this weekend. Promo code ROTOPAT. Denny Carter is here. Denny, can you nod? Can you come in and talk? Denny Carter's here.
Hi, folks.
The cat is still alive. I shouldn't joke about it. I have no idea what's going on at your house, though. But Denny, all I know is that Denny Carter is back. And Dylan Lobb is Peyton Hillis 2.0. I'll welcome you back in with that. It's not even a question. It's just a observation from Uncle Ted, who is
that's not happening. Dylan Lobb was playing in deep in the 4th quarter of a preseason game, so
it's never been more over. I tweeted today that it's never been more back for Terry McLaurin, and that he's the closest thing we have to this year's DJ Moore. It's not apples to apples. My thought process being, this is a guy we know is good, but this is a guy who's never had legitimate quarterback play. It's by far the best quarterback he's ever had. And Jaden Daniels, are you high on Terry McLaurin, or are the reasons to be low? It's a running quarterback, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, well, I do think that the lack of creativity in the Cliff Kingsbury offense could be an issue for McLaurin. But McLaurin is good. We know that. The thing is, I think he's miscast as a wide receiver 1. He should be a good wide receiver 2 on another team. I'm getting a little in the weeds here. I think if you can get him as your like wide receiver 3 or 4, I think you're cooking. If you're relying him on as your wide receiver 2, I think that you're going to be in some pain this year.
Absolutely love Terry McLaurin as my wide receiver 3 for the reasons I laid out, but I love in a wide receiver 3, like, is this guy the number 1 receiver on his own team?
Yeah.
Because not many of the guys you're getting in the wide receiver 3 territory are real life number 1 receivers. And Terry McLaurin has no competition. They don't even have a number 2 receiver.
And Washington's going to be bad. They're going to be real bad, and they're going to be chasing points a lot. So,
but I know who Stevie is. Stevie's a friend of the show. And he's asked, it's going to be Carson Steele, Daugherty, or Samaje Daugherty. Deneric has been getting bullied at school. I should have named her probably a more traditional name than Deneric. But then should I go Carson Steele or Samaje for my next kid?
Carson.
Should Shane be confident having Love and Daniels as my QBs, half PPR? Yes. Even 2 QB, 1 QB.
Yeah, right. If it's 1 QB, you shouldn't have both those guys.
No, you shouldn't. You should not. But, well, I don't know. Well, it's both late.
No, man. No. Stop.
Then let me get inside. Let me get inside the mind of. Okay. You're not in home leagues. You don't do redraft. You don't do home leagues.
This is a vicious rumor that you've started.
Well, I'm in a lot of these 12 and 14 team home leagues, and like the folks out there, they're normal. Again, they're not sick like we are. Mm-hmm. They like the comfort of quarterbacks. They frequently draft 2 quarterbacks, like in the first 8 rounds.
I know, and that's bad and wrong, and they should feel bad for doing it.
It is, but it's all I can say in some of these leagues where you don't want to be stressing too much. There's something to be said for not having to sweat the waiver wire. But I mean, of course, I would never do this.
Here's the thing: even in a 12-team league with 1 quarterback, your backup quarterback, folks, is on your waiver wire.
Well, I will say it gets the tedium of quarterback roulette does get old.
You don't need to play it though. Look, oh man, if you just take Jaden Daniels, you're set. You don't need Jordan Love.
That's true. Well, yeah, Jaden Daniels, who's never played in the NFL, who we both horrifically true all spring. As long as you take him.
Well, we have said that he would not be great for real football, but amazing for fantasy.
That is true. Brandon needs to know his third keeper between ETN, Isaiah Pacheco, Nico Collins. He already has Christian McCaffrey and Jamar Chase.
Nico.
Really? Yeah. Let me look. Hold on a second. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. But I was going to say he has the fewest question marks. He does. I mean, the question is like, is he truly the number 1 receiver? Is not a question I love with like a top 15 receiver.
I think he's definitely the wide receiver 1 in that offense. And then, ETN, like the fact that like Doug Peterson did a national tour in February and March saying that we will never under any circumstances make ETN the workhorse again. It makes me nervous about his prospects for being
he's trying to be brave. He was trying to be cool. Like, listen, I know how to do backfield. And then he remembered that they have Tank Bigsby. And I just have a real hard time believing they're going to follow through on that. Frankie Knuckles wants to know thoughts on Jamar Chase. He fell all the way to wide receiver 12 status last year by average PPR points, didn't he? A guy who since that sensational rookie year hasn't quite put it all back together, still elite for fantasy in 2022. Last year was about Joe Burrow being hurt. Is Jamar Chase all the way back this season?
Yes, I guess. But I mean, I'm taking 3 or 4 receivers before him, so. But I actually don't think that Chase has like the wide receiver 1 overall in his range of outcomes. And take that for what it's worth.
I don't know. He probably still does, but
Burrow makes it possible.
Jamar is a freak. The problem is just they're so equitable there in Cincinnati. They don't ever stop targeting T, even though T needs to be treated like a distant wide receiver too. Like it's not fair to T, but he's not anywhere close to being on the same level as Jamar Chase.
You and I are on the same page there, and I mean, the Bengals are super pass heavy. Maybe they'll even be more pass heavy than they usually are because they don't really have a running back. Like, Mixon, they were like fixated on getting Mixon involved, and now that they don't have anyone like that, maybe they will pass more. That would be awesome for Chase.
Then he did Death Scare 3 overinvest in running back. I would say it looks a little bit like he did. But
I
what do
didn't
you
even
think?
see Death Scare 1 and 2, so I don't know about this. But
Oh.
Waddle Pickens a strong top 3. No.
Yeah, it's not that strong. We're Death Scare. Nothing against you. We're just being
But
brutally
I
honest.
think it can work. If Jalen Waddle's undisclosed injury is not bad, the one that he's, that's kept him out of practice for last month isn't bad.
Doctors are baffled.
This doctors hate this injury.
Yeah, doctors hate this.
And then Deontay Johnson, he's a quarterback's best friend. All he does is get open. Definitely 150 targets coming for Deontay Johnson.
I have to guess. Deontay, I pumped the brakes this summer. I tweeted this today, like in early June and July. I'm like, I'm taking Deontay every single draft I do. And then I did, best ball drafts don't mean anything. So, of course, you take Deontay Johnson. Like, it doesn't mean anything at all. I mean, $25. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I could just easily lose this $25 and just going to spend it on the BBM4 instead. 0 stakes whatsoever to these draft picks. Now that I'm actually drafting my friends and family, industry colleagues, like, I don't know. This Deontay Johnson.
I think, it's not going to be pretty or fun, but, when you look at your fantasy score at the end of the day and you see Deontay Johnson scored 18 PPR points, you'll be good.
No, you'll become an anti-PPR zealot is what you'll do.
Yeah.
Someone offered Josh Ayuk and Jonathan Taylor for CMC. Do I take it?
No.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, maybe. That's pretty good. That's at least a fair offer. That's like a legit offer.
It's fair-ish. But I just take McCaffrey. Like, take the guy who's going to score the most fantasy points in the season instead of the RB8 and the wide receiver 10.
Denny, love the username. Best ball moderate. Yeah. Curious. Kyle Pitts has never been elite, and yet we continue to treat him as elite. I have.
But are we?
No. Well, I ranked him as the tight end 10, which is low for a lot of people in the industry. And it is like, there are reasons why. Why do we keep pumping up Kyle Pitts, even though 3 years, long time. And as I said, when you're actually good, when you're actually elite, alibis don't matter. You don't need them. Why is Kyle Pitts still an alibi guy? What are the reasons to still draft Kyle Pitts?
He's going as tight end 8 at the moment. The guys going after him, David Njoku and Jake Ferguson, I would rather have them over Pitts. Dallas Goedert is going at tight end 12. I think I'd take over Pitts. So I guess the idea that this 3-4-year-old idea that he is a generational tight end talent is still with us in some capacity. I still am not. I'm just not interested to give it a try at that price. I would need a break.
Yeah, this isn't a science experiment. This is real life. These are your friends and family, and again, industry colleagues. They will laugh at you.
They will.
When your team does not perform well. And I just think, Art Smith or no Art Smith, the theorem would have been proven by now if Kyle Pitts were actually that dude.
And there's also, and this is not really my forte, but every clip I see of Pitts, it's like body catch against air.
Yeah, it is. I know. He loves our guy loves body catches.
I'm like against air.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's, I don't know much about much. I know that ain't right. Whatever I just saw, that ain't right.
Denny, what's the ceiling for Marvin Harrison Jr.? The best receiver prospect since probably at least Jamar Chase, maybe since Amari Cooper, maybe since Julio Jones. What is the ceiling for him?
Ceiling is like wide receiver 7-ish.
Seems right.
So I don't think that he's being completely misvalued, but I don't think that there's any indication that this Cardinals offense is going to let it rip passing wise. And it's not, Harrison's, he's a very, very, very good prospect. He's going to be a boundary guy. I don't know. I feel like this true upside is not going to be there this year.
It's just, in the modern NFL and a conservative offense, like what is a boundary guy really going to do?
Like a strict boundary guy.
Yeah, I have the same concerns about Marvin, although elite players have a way of obliterating concerns.
Sure. I could look really silly on him. Where he's going, I feel like he's being drafted at the very top of his ceiling, and I'm not interested.
Virgil needs a defense. Who's he dropping? J.K. Dobbins or Keon Coleman?
Coleman.
I wondered if we've gotten too far ahead of ourselves in J.K. Dobbins. Just like it's another like what? All right, cool. He's the 1A. Like, what does that even mean? Like, because like let's be real, J.K. Dobbins isn't getting more than 12 to 13 carries a week, is he?
Probably not.
Right?
But he could end up with 15 touches a week.
I've drafted a lot of J.K. Dobbins, and I've kind of just been like, why have I done this?
So I guess it depends on how your roster is structured. Honestly, like if you need Keon Coleman as your wide receiver 3 or 4, then keep him. If J.K. Dobbins is like your RB6, then just forget it. Just dump him.
Yeah.
But if it's reversed, where Keon Coleman is your wide receiver 6 and J.K. Dobbins is your RB4 or whatever, then just dump Coleman. That'd be my take here.
This is not a question; it's a comment. Is Breece Hall going to break fantasy football this year, Denny?
Break fantasy? Well,
he could. To be honest,
that's not really what running backs do.
I mean, it is. If he has 280 carries and 70 receptions, that would come pretty close to breaking the old fantasy.
I mean, CMC breaks fantasy.
That's what basically saying. Do you think a CMC season is possible for Breece? Caught 75 balls last year.
I mean, if you listen to Rodgers knowers and Jets fans, then no, because Rodgers has never thrown it to a running back per those people. But I guess that seems to check out. Breece Hall thrived with some of the worst quarterbacking ever last year. So, all right, you talked me into it.
And part of the reason he thrived though is like dumb, stupid checkdowns. And so what if he catches 50 balls instead of 75? There's a big difference.
Yes,
in the old fantasy, but he should compensate with touchdowns, hopefully. Perry wants to know Drake London or Mike Evans. Mike Evans, whom I have not drafted since 2017. He's been too old. Yeah. He's been too old since he was 26 for me to draft. Are you taking Mike Evans or Drake London?
I mean, I get why people, you're always underestimating Evans, but I'm still going to underestimate him. He's going as wide receiver 15. London's going as wide receiver 11. So it's really, this is not really a choice between the two. Like you have to take London if you want London. You can get both. You can.
Oh, sorry. I was hoping you were going to keep going.
Yeah, sorry. I don't have anything else
there. We stashing TJ Hawkinson, or we talked about this in the podcast a little bit. Like, what is the real upside to stashing a tight end who's missing at least a third of the fantasy regular season? Are you stashing him?
I don't get it. I simply don't really get it. I guess like if you have a deep bench or whatever, that's fine. Or if you can put him on IR, I guess. But like,
no. To be clear, Hawkinson is an IR only guy. Okay. I'm not putting Hawkinson on my bench because like September is when you need like as much bench flexibility as you're gonna have. You're trying to see who's actually gonna break out. You're maybe trying to weather like one or two late summer injuries. You got to have spots. You got to be ready to pounce on because like the best waiver wire additions almost always come in the first month. So you need maximum flexibility the first month. So I'm only stashing TJ Hawkinson if it's on an IR spot, not a bench spot, is my opinion.
I mean, Hawkins is still, he's going as tight end 14.
It's pretty low.
I don't understand that at all. I mean, I guess here's what you do. If you're just dead set on getting Hawkinson, just get Taysom. And just play Taysom until Hawkinson's ready.
Terrible advice. Taysom Hill will suffer 3 unique injuries before.
Unique. That's a good addition there.
The Planet Jupiter wants to know Isaiah Pacheco or Travis Etienne in full PPR.
Pacheco.
All right. Yeah, I was hoping you'd go a little longer answering that.
Well, I don't. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, look, Pacheco started playing football when he's 8 years old, and
there we go.
And he got involved in the pass game at age 9. Pacheco.
If Alvin Kamara gets injured, no, take some guys. Stop. Denny, you're polluting the minds of America on.
I am. I'm Taysom pilling.
Taysom gets a hurt the second he gets more than 5 touches. Like the dude is 4 years old. Like if he got like 9 carries in a game, he tears rotator cuff.
I would like to be 34.
You would die on the football field. But in a vacuum, Denny, would you rather have Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie season.
I would take Neighbors straight up over Marvin Harrison.
I would too, and I feel psychotic for having that opinion.
Really?
Because it's Daniel Jones. It's Danny Jones. It's Danny Jones.
Kyler Murray's not a great passer.
No, Kyler's pretty bad. Yeah, that's what we always forget.
So I mean, I don't know if there's much difference as far as passing goes between Kyler and Daniel Jones. But
yeah, hold on. There's a difference there.
I mean, okay, maybe like a small. And as far as passing now, I mean, mobility, fantasy points wise, Kyler's the guy. But
no, not even just mobility. Kyler is a not good passer who is a way better passer than Daniel Jones, because everyone in the league is a better passer than Daniel Jones, who doesn't do the one thing he does well, which is
who's not though? Drew Lock.
No, yeah, he's better than Daniel Jones.
No, wait a second. Wait. No, I said Drew Lock's not better than Daniel Jones.
No, he is. He will be easily. Yeah, easily.
Drew Lock is a joke.
He is. So is Daniel Jones.
Like the only reason anyone knows who he is because he did that dance on the sideline one time.
No, it's because he led the University of Missouri to almost new heights. We're using a pick on Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Kamani Vidal, Denny. You can only pick one.
It's Corum. I mean, he's the only one who has like a path to like real touches. Trey Benson is not going to be what you think he's going to be. We had Johnny Venerable, great name by the way, on the pod a couple months ago, I think, saying that like they like Trey Benson, all right, but he's not going to be the RB1 if James Conner misses time. And so people are going to be disappointed about Benson. And then Vidal, like, who knows, man? Who knows? I mean, we know he exists, which is nice, but Corum is the play. Vidal
seems like his range of outcomes somehow got wider, not smaller during training camp, where he was one day it had never been more over. The next he had never been more back. And this is like rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of comments on Kyler Murray. Kyler's such a weird guy. Like Kyler is the ultimate. There's always just something lacking with Kyler. And maybe it was Cliff Kingsbury. He was not good upon coming back last year, but I'm willing to give the ACL pass for that.
Yeah, sure.
This is, I mean, like year 5, year 6 in the league for Kyler. This is the year. Like it's got to be this year, man. Like you've got to show there was another gear there. And like if we come out, it's the same old Kyler. Like you can never draft this guy again, like ever.
I mean, he could still be good for fantasy, Like I don't know. Like I think in real football he'll never be good, but in fantasy he does have a clear.
Real football, I just don't know who to blame. I never know if it was Cliff or Kyler who invented the horizontal raid, because Cliff was always the easy scapegoat. I just wonder if it was Kyler who was really the inventor of the horizontal raid. And he's like Daniel Jones, or in theory has a good deep ball, but he never wanted to uncork it. And some of it was personnel related, but they usually had a deep threat, and he would just not uncork it enough.
Yeah.
He's like weirdly inaccurate at like other levels of the field.
I see a lot of Dalvin Cook questions, and I'm not going to dismiss those because I actually took him in a league yesterday with my last pick. Because I mean, you throw him on the end of your bench. You got to see how it plays out. He might not even be active week 1. So it could just be Dowdle and Zeke, but he's one injury away from having some relevance there. And if he's not banged up, if he's not injured, which is a lot to ask for a guy who is often injured, then, whoever gets this gig for the Cowboys is going to be interesting for fantasy because it's going to include so many pass routes.
I'll just say Dalvin's Jets season was like a tax write-off too. Like we never saw like how Dalvin was actually going to be used.
No,
the Jets. And like being another year older is not good news for Dalvin Cook. Like you don't really get your legs back as a running back, and his legs seem to be gone. But last year, like you can't evaluate Dalvin Cook. Like the Jets, the defense. You could not run with the Jets. You had to be Breece Hall. You had to be like a special home run hitter to generate any production. And even Breece went like 2 months where he didn't exceed 50 yards rushing last year. Hashtag people forget. It was an impossible environment for a running back to have success. I will say that. Digo, shouting out your small grill.
Small, my grill, it gets the job done is what I would say.
Smaller than a normal grill. I'm looking for 1 or 2 final questions. Lots of Rico, lots of Cook.
Yeah.
There are better RBs to stash.
You should make some bets on the Cowboys backfield though. I mean,
I mean, should you? I mean,
why? You should. This is the
could be Royce
backfield.
Freeman in like a month. Could be Royce Freeman.
The kind of then take Freeman. Like I mean, just make a bet. Just see how it pans out.
This is real. This isn't a mock draft day. This isn't pretend. There's actual stakes to pretending Rico Dowdle is good.
Right. And if you had to take him in the 4th round, I would say forget it. But you can take him in the 1 zillionth round.
I should expand most of my leagues to the zillionth round.
Yeah.
I guess I expanded this chat by a few minutes, but it's time to go. Thank you so much to everyone for their questions. Thank you for sticking with us all summer, all preseason. We're finally getting new games, new data. And yeah, it's the last weekend to buy the Rotoworld draft guide. Denny's in it. Kyle's in it. We put blood, sweat, and tears in it. It's 20% off in the Fantasy Life Plus package right now. Promo code ROTOPATH. There are no other promo codes.
There's 0 RB if you'd like to choose to use that.
For Denny Carter.
0 RB.
For Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be with you all season.